Hi, my name is Naishli. I go by she, her pronouns.
Laurel, she, her pronouns.
He, him pronouns.
And today we're going to be talking about trailers and in specific, the official trailer for Jane Campion's The Piano. And we're going to be talking about like a few concepts related to trailers, such as auteur, is that how you pronounce it?
Okay.
Genre, self-reflexivity, all that jazz, all that good stuff. So if anyone wants to kick off our discussion, then feel free.
Well, I remember the article speaking about how trailers become their own thing, that they're trying to figure out how to phrase this correctly. Um it gives audiences a preview of what's coming, and these previews can sometimes come off completely different from the actual movie you go to see. And in connection to like the trailer for The Piano, I feel like it's a pretty good representation of what watching the entire film is, besides the fact that they with the film reviews they list it as like it's one of the greatest love stories of all
Oh
time.
my god, don't get me started on that. That was like
And I'm just like, this,
talking
I
point.
wouldn't say this is like
A love
a
story.
raw, like what's like a romance movie in any regard.
No, it's not a Hallmark rom-com.
Yeah.
That brings up a quote or like a part of the article. For reference, we're talking about Kernan's article. I think her name is Elizabeth Kernan, Coming of Attractions.
Lisa Kernan.
Yes, Lisa Kernan. Trailers of upcoming attractions. I think that's what the name of it is. But there's one part where she talks about how trailers kind of give people free samples. Like when people are watching trailers, they're kind of window shopping for films. And in a lot of trailers, they seem to reframe the original narrative into being something completely different and alluring for the audiences to kind of be like, oh, that looks really interesting. Because I feel like they did that really heavily with this trailer, where kind of like reframing the narrative. Whereas if you were to watch a trailer that said, mute woman gets sexually manipulated into falling in love with, culturally appropriative Harvey Keitel, you wouldn't watch that movie. So they kind of reframed it into being like, it is an exquisite love story about desire and eroticism. So I want to get you guys' thoughts about not only like reframing, but kind of the individual aspects of the piano that they chose to include, and this kind of new narrative that they spun in order to make this trailer seem appealing. I don't know if I really said that articulately.
No.
But like, why
Yeah.
do you
Definitely
think they
notes.
chose to kind of pick and choose, I guess?
I definitely noticed that they excluded a lot of the big hooks of the movie. Like Ada's muteness is not really mentioned at all during the trailer, which is a large part of her character. And it's framed as like a willing relationship of her between two people when it's a lot more deep and vaguely non-consensual than that.
Yeah, I think that they kind of like, it's not to say that the movie is this like, because I enjoyed the piano, like as like, if I didn't have to watch it under like a critical lens for this class, I think I'd like enjoy it in my spare time. But I feel like in order to pull someone into having that enjoyable, like that subjectively enjoyable experience, you need to present them with something that seems attractive. And although Ada's plights and her story weren't necessarily attractive, they were entertaining and they were interesting. However, I kind of feel like in trailers, the thing that might be the most entertaining or interesting, you can't exactly include in that way. I don't know if I'm making my point.
It's also like attracting the audience. So I would define The Piano as like it's a very artistic movie. It's definitely more on the serious side, and there's like so many different layers between, like what's it called? Human reactions and like situations, and then like deep layers with that. And they market it through the trailers being like a romance movie because like the general public overall is going to want to go see a romance movie. They want to see something they've seen before. They want to see something from that genre. And with like artistic movies, it's such like a niche group of people that like to go see those, especially in theaters. um that's how I took it while watching the trailer, and like because like it attracts you to be like, oh, it's a love story,
Yeah.
there's this love triangle.
It really plays to like genre because it's
Yeah.
like because it makes use of like those words like love and eroticism and romance. But there was also, unless anyone has any other thoughts about reframing.
Oh yes, I did. So like I don't know like if anybody else has watches a lot of those YouTube videos of like people who are like are established like film majors, and they like watch trailers, and trailers do like a job of like sometimes they rearrange what the movie's actually about. Sometimes they show a lot of clips that are in the movie, or they have supplemented clips into the trailers that don't actually end up being in the movie. And after watching The Piano and then watching the trailer after, I feel like some movie trailers do this. It's the entire movie in one trailer. Like you don't need really the context, but after watching it, you're like, oh, this is the entire movie. There's no like real mystery of how we get to like point A to B. And I feel like The Piano's trailer was definitely like everything is here.
Yeah, it felt like everything is there skeletally. Like you have like she's moving to a new land, and then you have like she falls in love with Baines, but the parts that they kind of remove are kind of those like socially unacceptable parts, right? Or like she's moving to a new land where her husband is colonizing indigenous lands, and then she falls in love with Baines and they have this new life together. However, first he sexually exploits her for her most prized possession. So like they definitely laid it out like this is the entire film, but they kind of were like, these parts you can come across on your own once you decide from our trailer that it is going to be a pleasurable experience, right? And there was this other part of the article that I want to get you guys' opinion on about the audience. And they wrote something, Kernan wrote something about how like trailers kind of pander to certain audiences and like certain demographics. That's the word I was looking for, like gender, religion, race. Based off of this trailer and like what we obviously have discussed the movie at length, what demographic do you like feel like they were kind of pandering towards with like the way that they comprised this trailer?
I'd say middle-aged woman. Like,
Brady?
middle-aged women that are looking for romance films.
Yeah, you agree?
It's marketed as a normal rom-com when most of its themes are based in feminism rather than not just a regular romance film.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a rom-com because that implies that there's comedy in it.
Yeah, I don't know why I added the com part. But
romance, drama. I forget like what that
Yeah.
actual genre
It's like the
called.
people who would watch The Notebook. It's like hopeless romantics and like, you know, middle-aged white women.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that like if they could have totally made a completely different trailer, still using source material from the film that would pander to a completely different audience. I think like they could have made it a story about like I just lost every thought in my head. I'll come back to that point, but I think that the way that like they were able to kind of, because I think if you presented this to someone who's like loving rom-coms or like love movies, and you're like, this is the best love story, I think they said the most exquisite love story to ever be on film, and you're expecting The Notebook 2.0, and then you get The Piano.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of deception in a way. It's kind of like, you know, let's show this really pretty dress in the store window and have everybody window shop, but then we reveal it's like $3 million and this fabric is too itchy to even wear it out.
They also include the shot of Baines like behind Ada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like grabbing her neck. And that's not like really a romantic thing. That's a very aggressive hold for a man to do to somebody. So like they're saying, oh, here's this exquisite love story, and here's this man hovering over this woman who can't see that she's behind him, and he grabs her neck and leans over her. That is just not good imagery, especially it like contradicts the words that they use.
But then they have this like really romantic piano music, and then they follow it up, or like they precede it by like, this is the best love story, this is so erotic and beautiful, and then they're like, he's kissing her neck, look how cute. But like if you had the full context without their like deliberate reframing of the situation, you'd be like, oh, he's a little icky.
Yeah, they also emphasize in the trailer a lot the piano, like not only like verbally, but they show like once or twice like far away shots of the piano on the beach and the daughter going, the piano, etc., etc. But it never alludes to the fact that the piano is an extension of Ada and her character and her body and the darker tones of the movie.
Yeah, I think, oh, sorry, go.
I mean, if you have the connection to that, I was just
no, you go.
well, I was thinking what you said about the dress analogy is why? What? It seems like they would let down people by producing the trailer like this. Why would they do that?
Because if you're already buying the ticket, they get the money. Like if you walk out of the theater halfway through the film, you already paid to see it.
Yeah, and it's also like films are a commodity. They are art and they are emotion on screen and they are representation and all that good stuff. But they're also a commodity by the film industry. And I think that like what I said earlier, like Ada's story isn't necessarily like unattractive. It's just like it's different than what you signed up for after watching the trailer and committing to purchasing a ticket. And I think if a woman was planning on seeing The Notebook and then she saw the piano, I think she would be a little disappointed. But like Laurel said, the dollars are still going into the pockets of the industry.
Yeah. And like it's also they present these two different men in the trailer, so like based off that imagery you're going to assume it's a love triangle. And when saying, oh, this is a great love story, like we have rom-coms like Bridget Jones' Diary, which we touched on in class, like just the poster of it, but that's another movie where it's a love triangle, it is a rom-com, but it also has very serious undertones about the fact that these men keep manipulating this woman and like walking over her, and it's just the trailers are different from what you're really getting, and even the posters give different meanings to what you're going to watch.
Yeah. The trailer's only 1minute and 51 seconds. So if we want to like take this like second half of this episode to kind of like go through the trailer kind of with what we've discussed and maybe piggyback and add some new concepts, I think if everyone's down, we could do that.
Additionally, I'm kind of interested to see like what the other trailers were, in the sense, like not that we have to look them up, but a quote from the article, the Kernan talks about how in like the movie market, trailers, to quote straight from it, like reach is ever expanding with their inclusion on videotapes, DVDs, and on the internet, where they're increasingly popular and influential marketing tool. So the trailers from other DVDs, because like I don't know if anybody else remembers, like when you were younger, if you like watched a DVD, you got trailers before you could click to play. So those are, and each trailer is kind of different marketed,
or like what different
based on
like
what platform.
in the different movies that they kind of show the different versions of this trailer in front of, like what audiences are. I feel like my audio is going crazy right now. Is that only me? Sorry.
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. But I feel like if you saw a trailer of this in front of like a Western, like that's a whole different audience. And then they would need to kind of reframe the narrative and kind of put some of like the more action-packed parts. Or like maybe this one would show in front of like a really romantic movie, and then you already have this audience who's obviously enamored by romance, and then you present them with this romance, most exquisite romance. Like obviously you're kind of entrapping people in that way into viewing your film based on the different, so like I think it would be really interesting to take a look at that and like the different audiences they're trying to reach. We could go.
Sorry.
I was kind of thinking of, or trying to pick out what aspects of the trailer they've pandered to make it look like a romance film rather than such an artsy film, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the piano has long wide shots which aren't very traditional to like romantic dramas, but they pander the trailer to make it not look like that. What do you guys think?
Sorry, I was just texting Anouk and telling her to join the Zoom call. I totally missed that.
Oh, shoot. They've made the trailer seem like it's a romantic drama, like we just said.
Yeah.
But it's really an artsy kind of film. What aspects have they taken out of the artsy format and put it to make it look like something that it's not?
I think
Like the shot I'm looking at right now is
like I think Laurel
What's
mentioned
that?
like the part where he kisses her neck, and like the physical affection parts, like they kind of pick out because they're like out of context. A man kissing a woman immediately signifies within the viewer romance, or like Stuart looking at her picture. Like I feel like without context, like all they gave us was a new husband, a new wife, a new land, right in that beginning part.
There's also
Yeah.
They also include the shot where her husband, whose name I cannot remember, chases her into the woods and basically rapes her. Like,
And they stop right before he starts attacking her.
Yeah.
So they definitely picked out the more out of context romantic-y moments of the film in order to make it seem like that dramatic romance movie.
Do you know what year this trailer came out?
I don't. I'm looking at it on YouTube right now, and let's see. It doesn't say.
Because I know the years that trailers come out definitely influence the editing styles and advertisement styles. It's like these days with trailers, we don't get a lot of narration over the images and context. And I feel like this trailer kind of does that, which signifies definitely the era that it's from. And I know that Kernan's article talks about eras of trailers and how they influence audiences.
The movie came out in 1993.
Yeah, so it was probably somewhere around the 90s. Pivoting to what you just mentioned about editing styles and like different types of advertisement, there was a big portion of this article that we looked at about vaudeville versus circus modes of trailer making, which I really wanted to kind of pick your brains about and kind of talk about because I just thought it was like really interesting. And so like vaudeville style is more like there's something for everybody in this, right? You have like a quote unquote variety show, and I forget exactly what what the article said, but it was more like, oh, early sound trailers often contain literal vaudeville echoes, such as stars standing in front of a stage and directly addressing the audience. And then circus echoes are described as like really emphasizing spectacle and hyperbole. So I was wondering whether you guys think that this trailer tackles vaudeville or circus styles, and like what ways does it do that?
Yeah, sorry, I found where I wrote that down on my notes. I'm just highlighting it so I can look back at the definitions.
Like we said, this trailer focuses on mostly the sexual aspects, and I think that speaks to the circus style because it's all very over the top, but still deceptive of what it actually represents.
Mm.
Yeah, I wrote a research paper last semester for my film class about the circus in film. And that was a point that I didn't even think about in relation to this trailer was the deception behind it and the deceptive exploitative aspect of the circus where like we're going to take these people with differences and we're going to blow them up into our biggest selling point. So I think that like we have this harrowing, plight-filled feminist narrative about sexuality and finding yourself, and but then they took the spectacle, which was the sexual relationship between Holly Hunter and Harvey Keitel, and they hyperbolized it into this big selling point. Um, and that kind of convinces me that it's circus.
I mean, based off this trailer specifically, I would define it as vaudeville based on the fact that, like, coming from the article, it says that it relies more on human interaction than visual effects. And this trailer doesn't really have a lot of visual effects. It's mostly reliant on the interactions between the characters and it being a love story.
Yeah.
But I can see how you guys are connecting it to the circus mode because it is trying to reach into different audience genres and be like, hey, you should come see this because you like this, but it's actually this without them knowing.
Yeah, I think that this is a point I wanted to make. It says, this is like a quote that I think we could really talk about. It's what was her name? Kernan says the hyperbolic pull of the circus mode of trailer rhetoric in the promotion of spectacle differs from the pull of generalization exemplified by vaudeville mode in its manner of audience address. So we have like vaudeville that's like this movie has family, this movie has love, this movie has action, right? It can give you whatever you want no matter what genre you're subscribe to as being your favorite versus circus where it's like this is the best action movie you're ever going to see in your life with the best explosions or like this is the best romance movie with the best sex scenes or whatever. And I feel like this trailer kind of plays with both even though I just said I was convinced it was circus, because it's kind of like in the trailer it has these title cards that go from like exquisite romance and then you have that portraying circus and then you have the visuals themselves kind of portraying vaudeville, which like cut me off if I'm making no sense at all because I tend to ramble, but you have like the first part being presenting you with the travel narrative where like she finds a new land, and then you have the second part where it's like about like Stuart being like this is like domestic and love, and then you have more being like but this can also give you steamy romance with like critically acclaimed actors, and you have like these different kind of genres inserting themselves with the scenes that they chose to portray because that like
Yeah.
is that making sense?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was interesting in the trailer that we get a lot of shots of Ada's daughter, but it doesn't really connect to what they're trying to promote. Or like it's not a kid genre movie. It's not a movie you take your kid to see, and they're not advertising it that way either, but they keep showing shots and audio clips of the daughter referring to the piano and her on the beach and whatnot. Like, did you guys have any interpretation of that and how that connected into the trailer?
This is kind of just an off thought, but because they didn't show Ada's blindness or muteness, her daughter is the only way that she can talk. So they just didn't have any other like input.
Yeah, I think that they couldn't use Ada as like a vehicle for her own story because her daughter spoke for her or she used sign language, which, correct me if I'm mistaken, we don't see her sign in the trailer. So it kind of feels like one, kids are marketable. You see a cute kid in a movie and you're like, great, coming of age family dynamic, right? And then also like her daughter is needed in order to kind of tell her story without revealing this really big part of her story, which is that she's mute.
Yeah. They could have still had Ada narrate in the sense that she opens the movie with narration from the end of the story back, and they included the clip of her and Baines from the end of the movie of them happy together, where she was coming back from not being mute anymore. I just thought it was interesting that they did that when they could have gone other routes, especially with the fact that they marketed the movie as something different from what it is.
Yeah, definitely. I had a point to touch on. Oh, there was this part of the trailer. Here, let me pull it up quick. There was this part of the trailer where they were kind of name dropping, for lack of a better word. Let's see if this works. Can you guys see this? And I think it's around here where they first like start. Yeah, Jane Campion. So I think this part can tie us into what we've been talking about in past lectures and classes and readings about this French word I can't pronounce, attourism, in, oh my god, can you even hear it?
No, but the images is fine enough.
Yeah, so basically they went through the actors and they were like, Holly Hunter's in this film, and Jane Campion, who they kind of work off her reputation as being a really great director, and then Harvey Keitel, who's obviously starred in like Tarantino movies. Oh, it's a great image to stop on. So like, what are you guys' thoughts about name dropping within trailers? Not even this one, like kind of grasping people in using people.
I mean, stars are a very big part of like pop culture and star culture, especially within films, because some people follow certain movies and watch them because of a favorite actor, and then if you have like actors that are known because they won certain awards, like I'm pretty sure that this movie was Anna Paquin won like an Oscar at 8 years old for it or something like that. I know that Kernan talked about stars and trailers. I'm just trying to find where that was real quick. But
I think it's kind of
an effective way of marketing to people.
Yeah, it's like preying on pre-established fan bases. Like if you weren't paying attention to the trailer, you have no interest in romance films, but you really liked Reservoir Dogs, and then suddenly they're like Harvey Keitel, and you're like, who? Wait, what? I'm interested now.
Yeah,
like that could be a function. Really great stuff.
And actors definitely. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I had nothing.
Okay. I know Kernan's article talks about like different eras of marketing with films, and I feel like actors can really lay outside the bounds of time with trailers, because if you follow an actor now and you go back and you look for movies that they're in and like trailers, you'll be like, oh, I remember them from this. So it just connects in different ways based on your own preferences and what you've seen. And it doesn't like really matter what year the movie's from. You'll be like, oh, I really liked them from a movie that's maybe 10 years after this one. So you want to go back and see their previous work, and that also drives a lot of fan base and association with genre.
Yeah.
I think actors are some like a feature of a movie that transcend genre, because like if you don't like horror, but if an actor you like is in it, you might still go see it. So it's kind of just raking in outliers of people who might see a movie.
Were you guys associated with any of the actors in this film before seeing this one?
Harvey Keitel. And like that's why I was like, I love Reservoir Dogs. But if I read the Wikipedia page for The Piano, I probably wouldn't watch it on my own. But then I would see Harvey Keitel starring in it, and I'd be like, maybe I'll give it a shot. Or like, even if you watch the Oscars last night, Jane Campion won an Oscar for Best Director. So like, if you stumble upon this this trailer and you're like, what the heck is this? And this is Jane Campion. You're like, oh my God, I just saw that she won for Best Director. This must be a really great film. This must be really, you know, great. And then you'd be inclined to watch it more.
Yeah, because the guy that played the husband, he was in Jurassic Park, which is my favorite movie because I have nostalgic connection to it from my childhood. And then I know Anna Paquin from True Blood when she was an adult filming that. So I was like, when I looked up the actors, I was like, oh my God, I really like these people. This, at the end of the day, if I don't like the movie, I also like to watch their performance.
Yeah, like I'll watch Robert Pattinson in anything. It doesn't have to be good, but like I'll still enjoy it. Like, so I think that's the big things that I had from this article, considering like, you know, audience reframing vaudeville circus. Atoire is a sorry, go ahead.
If I'm getting it wrong, that's also embarrassing. So it's fine.
Spell it. I can. That's enough for me. But I was just wondering if you guys had any other little tidbits about the article or
Not really.
things about the trailer that we haven't touched on. I think we did a pretty thorough dissecting of Kernan's thoughts on trailers. All right, so if that is it, then I will see you guys next time we film one of these. All right, swag.
Bye.
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 Bye.